Remember Me by Elope to the Sea on AO3. Episode 3, Chapter 3. The Power Only Some Can Wield. Uraraka, please, Deku begged, taking his friend's arm, pleading with his eyes. It's the sports festival. It's a once-in-a-year opportunity. I want to see it. Nope, we are not watching it on TV, Uraraka said, sitting on the sofa, trying to hide her grin, as Iida watched from the kitchen, mildly amused. Deku was almost crying by her side. But it's the Sports Festival of UA! You know how much this means to me! Deku began shaking her. I know you don't like heroes, but please, I'll do anything. Uraraka, just tell him, Iida said, resting against the counter, a small smile in his face. You're no fun, Iida, Ochako complained, but still laughed, confusing Deku even more. I wanted to tease him more. What are you guys talking about? Deku asked, looking at Uraraka, with tears in his eyes. We're not watching the UA Sports Festival on TV, and that's a given, Uraraka said, making Deku pout. Because... She grinned widely, showing off 3 tickets in her hands. We're watching it live. Deku took a few seconds to process what was happening. Seconds that both of his friends spent snickering before he jumped on Ochako, giving her a big hug. Uraraka! He completely cheered her name as she laughed. Oh my god, we're watching the sports festival live! How did you even get these? He stared at her. Who did you steal them from? I told you to call me Ochako, she said, poking Deku's forehead. And I feel insulted. I didn't steal these. You can't rob your way into the UA, apparently, Iida said, sitting down right next to Ochako. We tried. Yeah, it was too much of a risk to actually do it, Ochako said, sighing a bit, but then turned away, hiding her blushing face. I had a little extra money saved from these either way. Deku stared at his friend with wide eyes. He turned to see Iida, as trying to find an explanation, but he just nodded, giving Uraraka a lovely look. Uraraka, he said again, his eyes filling up with tears. I told you to call me Ochako. She smiled, still blushing. We've known each other for almost a year now, and you still use my last name. These must have cost a fortune. Deku stared at the tickets, as he wiped away his tears. Not that much if you buy them in advance, it seems, Ochako said, still trying to brush it off. And besides, we already got your medicine for this month, and Iida's medical bill. Wait, then how about... Deku asked suddenly, but the grim look in Ochako's face was the answer on its own. I left Dad, she answered simply. I left enough money for him to get by for at least a month. I doubt I'll return to school either. It'll be a matter of time before they report me missing. I'm hoping we finished everything by that time. Deku stared at her, mortified. You can't do that. You still have a life, a family. He began shaking her arm, trying to get her to react. I can't let you... It's my decision, Deku. Don't worry, Ochako said, a smile on her face as she took Deku's scarred hand in hers. Besides, a promise is a promise. Iida, help me out here. Deku tried to get support by turning to his friend. But he was also smiling. I'm sorry, Midoriya, but I'm afraid I have to agree with Uraraka. He patted Deku's head. A promise is a promise, and as soon as my brother's bills are paid, I can't say I won't do the same as her. Both of you can't do it, Deku pledged, holding on to both with their hands as they smiled. You still have places where you belong. You could become... Deku choked on his own words. Yeah, we have a place where we belong. Ochako hugged Deku. And that place is right by your side, Deku. I'm sorry, he sobbed, but they didn't let go. Todoroki stared at the stadium for the sports festival. It was bigger than anything he had ever seen, but something to be expected from the best hero academy there was. What do you mean there are 3 people behind the hero lovers? He heard Kaminari ask Jiro. Usually a conversation like this wouldn't have struck him as interesting, but the theme was something he was too familiar with. Yeah, didn't you know? Jiro answered, shrugging. There are 3, but only 2 of them show their faces. That's why most people think it's a duo. They even think the third party is a myth. It is. Momo interrupted, looking at both of them. I was eye to eye with those freaks. No one else saw a third person there. Todoroki wondered if he should speak. I did, Hagakure said, making everyone turn to see her. Despite her not compelled due to her broken arm, she was still there to cheer them on. It was a boy who looked really shabby. He was standing in one of those rescue houses. Then why didn't you do anything? Kaminari asked, but the issue seemed to be making Hagakure uncomfortable. I tried, she said, her hands dropping. But everything went black when I tried. I even took off my gloves and boots and still, somehow, I got attacked. Well, they do say that the hero lovers can read your minds. Do you think that's the third one's quirk? Kaminari asked again. Jiro shrugged. Who knows? No one's been able to tell what exactly the third person's quirk is. That's why they say he's a mystery. Some even say he's just a puppet of an even crazier quirk, or a bluff from the duo to make us believe there's a third person, when there's actually no one. Jiro rested against the chair, wondering. For all we know, he might as well be. The door opened with a big loud sound, and everyone turned to see who just got in. Murmurs came everywhere when they saw who it was. Man, Bakugo sure looks pissed today. Jiro whispered towards Kaminari. What's that guy's deal? Okay, he's not that bad. Kaminari tried to defend him. He's just difficult. All he ever does is complain and yell and be sad. Jiro rested her hands over her arm as she watched Bakugo walk among their classmates. He only speaks to you and Kirishima. If you knew all that guy went through, you would understand. Kaminari just looked at Bakugo. Ochako, look! Deku said excitedly as they stood in one of the benches of the stadium. That's the class 1A from the hero course. They really are, Ochako said. It's kind of sad half of their class couldn't attend. And they really still in the hospital? We didn't even go full force on them. Yeah, apparently one even dropped out from the stress. Deku said, looking at every single one of the kids and enter the arena. From all 17 students, only 10 will be participating. How sad, Ochako said sarcastically. Oh look, it's the frog girl. I'm glad she made it. Thank you for being here with me, despite everything, Deku said, turning to see his friends, with a smile. I also really like your wig, Ochako. Really? I thought blonde didn't suit me all that well. She grinned, adjusting her fake pink glasses. Your mustache is cool too, Iida. Deku smiled, even wider at his friend, who proudly showed off his mustache along with a silly hat and sunglasses. I still insist you should have come with something, Iida said, but Deku just smiled. No one really recognizes my face, but he's more than enough, he argued, and none of his friends could counterattack. Who are you betting on, Iida? Ochako asked, looking at the arena. I'm betting that Frog Girl wins. Unlikely. Iida looked around and pointed at Tokoyami. The Crow Boy has my money. No, you're both wrong. Izuku smiled widely, taking out his notebook. Kachan will win. Hard to argue with you? Ochako laughed, resting against the bench. But I have a feeling you're being biased here. Me? Biased? Deku laughed a bit as well. I admit I haven't run the numbers, and without knowing what the activities will be, it's hard to know the outcome, but... Izuku stared intently at his childhood friend from the bench, a giant smile creeping up. I want Kachan to win. Deku is whipped, Ochako said, hiding her discomfort as Deku began taking notes. She wasn't fond of her best friend's childhood friend, to be quite honest. They watched as they announced the obstacle race. But seriously, who will win? Well, I told you it depends, Deku said, suddenly really serious. But objectively, Todoroki has a 34% chance, Kachan has a 31, Momo has a 22, 10 goes to Mina, and honestly, the 3 that's left is a wild card. That means? Ochako asked, staring with confused eyes. Someone other from Class 1A? Deku explained, writing something down in his notebook. I mean, the chances of them getting to be first place is really small, and that would mean any of the other courses, but Deku stared at his notes. Yeah, the main conflict will be between these 3. Deku circled the 3 names he had written down. Ochako saw the margins of the page covering notes, little formulas, statistics, and other things she couldn't really understand the meaning of. Hey, are you sure it's okay for you to do this? Ochako asked, worried. Won't you get tired? Oh, this? Deku said, innocently. Don't think much about it. I still have like 25% chance I'm wrong, and come on, a wild card? Deku laughed. You know I don't work like that. It's a sports festival after all. I'm not gonna take this completely serious. I'll even round up the numbers. See? You know, that's right, Uraraka. Iida reassured her, letting his hand rest on her shoulder. He's having fun, in his own way. Fine. Uraraka sighed. But you're resting up as soon as we get home. In the end, Todoroki won. Ochako was falling asleep in Iida's shoulder, unable to actually care for the sports festival, while Iida himself was more focused on making sure Deku didn't faint while he was writing down every single thing that was going on in the area. After the race was finished, he rested against the bench, letting out a huge sigh. Are you really okay? Iida asked, worried at how dizzy Izuku looked. I think we should head back. No, no, no. Izuku snapped back into life, looking at Iida in a hurry. I want to finish watching the festival. It's my only chance to see Kachan and take notes of everyone's quirks. Iida sighed, but complied. I know this means a lot to you, but please take care of yourself. I don't know what I would do if you'd got worse because of this, Iida said, returning to rest against Ochako. What is next? A cavalry, Izuku said, scribbling down in his notebook. I wonder what teams they'll make. Just collect information on this one, Iida suggested. Save the predictions for the final round. Sounds right. Izuku smiled and set his pencil aside. But I really hope Kachan wins. He used to win everything when we were younger. Well, things change, Iida said, turning to see the area. He saw the boy standing right there in the middle, and a bitter taste filled in his mouth. Actually, Tokoyami has a really high percentage. He went through the pages of his notebooks, reaching towards the number 32. He shoved a really detailed drawing of the boy. See, in total I calculated he has at least a 70% chance of getting to the finals, and a 50% chance of being in the 3 finalists. Iida opened his eyes and then sighed, a kind of smile spreading to his lips. You don't miss a thing, right, Midoriya? I hope I don't, Izuku said, frowning. He turned to see his drawings, slightly concerned. I mean, if I miss something, that could be deadly for you guys. His eyes dropped to the rough stats he had managed to pull out. A wrong number could mean life or death, and since it's the only way I can help you... Iida stared at his best friend. Izuku had long lost those bright, optimistic eyes, and stared at the future with hope. Those had reached Iida out when he was at his lowest, more than he could ever admit. To know that pain, that cheerful smile hid. His gaze returned to the area, where those little heroes were playing, and anger suddenly boiled inside him. That could have been Midoriya reaching for his dreams, with wide innocent eyes, but instead he was right beside Iida, writing down in a notebook things he could never become. He won! Izuku cheered, and Iida finally snapped out of his daze. From the yell, he felt Uraraka stir beside him. Kachan won! That piece of shit won? Ochako, who was still rubbing her eyes half asleep, said, Can we go home now? He just won the second stage, Izuku said with a laugh. Though, I think only because Todoroki didn't use his fire quirk. Oh, he also has a fire quirk? Ochako asked. That means he's super powerful, isn't he? Really powerful, Izuku said, his eyes beaming towards a single person who was standing in the area at this point. How convenient, Iida said out loud with a sigh. If he is ever assigned against us, we'll have problems. Actually, at this point, he's easier to defeat than Kachan, Izuku pointed out, a little sad. I wish we could fight someday, on equal footing. Well, as long as that makes you happy, I guess it's okay. Ochako tried to be optimistic. A weird sound was heard. What's that? It's a break, Izuku exclaimed, so we can go buy something to eat. I think I want to go to the bathroom. Then we'll get some snacks. Ochako immediately got up, her water mouthing. Turn on your mic, Deku, and call us if you need anything. Sure. Okay, my head hurts a lot, but Sports Festival is super interesting in this one. I don't really have much notes, other than, is Izuku's quirk having to do with analysis? Like, does it have to do with... Also, I think it's hilarious that I have a major migraine right now, and I'm literally reading a fanfic where Izuku has those on a regular basis. Izuku, you and me are in the same boat. Like, woo woo! Anyways, does this have to do with Izuku, having some sort of analysis quirk or something like that? Is it just where, like, he could predict probabilities of different things, and, like, he's super smart, but it has a really big drawback, like, it, you know, mentally drains him to the point where it gives him major migraines? Like, I wonder, is that the thing? I'll put that as my next guess. Anyways, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.